Have you ever been trapped in a serious problem? It could be a financial struggle, a conflict with your partner, a dispute with neighbors, or even an enemy who seems impossible to defeat. And no matter how hard you try to solve it, the problem only becomes more complicated, more suffocating. If you're facing a problem that feels impossible to resolve, listen carefully to this story. It is a simple tale, yet one that can open a path where none seems to exist. Stay until the end, because this story might change the way you face problems forever. Long ago, in ancient China, an incident occurred that shook the imperial palace. A jade ring, a sacred heirloom and symbol of imperial authority, suddenly disappeared from the palace treasury. The moment the loss was discovered, the palace fell into turmoil. By order of Emperor Liang, the palace was sealed immediately. The main gates were closed. Side entrances were guarded. No one was allowed to enter or leave without imperial permission. Guards searched every corridor. Servants were gathered into the Great Hall. All palace activities were suspended. Yet hour after hour passed, and the jade ring was nowhere to be found. Instead of bringing answers, the situation grew worse. Emperor Liang became restless. The guards whispered among themselves, questioning who had failed in their duty. The servants began accusing one another, each trying desperately to protect themselves. The palace, once orderly and disciplined, was now filled with tension, suspicion, and fear. In the midst of this chaos, the emperor summoned a man named Han Wei. Han Wei was a middle-aged scholar who lived quietly outside the capital. He was not known for power or rank, but for his calm mind and his ability to solve difficult problems with logic and patience. Upon arriving at the palace, Han Wei began to observe. He examined footprints. He traced paths of movement. He noticed what was present and what was strangely absent. Gradually, several facts became clear, but one major problem remained. The palace was too loud. Arguments echoed through the halls. Faces were tense with fear. Pressure from the emperor hung heavy in the air. Han Wei found it difficult to think clearly. The facts he had gathered felt scattered. No solution revealed itself. In that moment, Han Wei realized something essential. A mind forced to work amid chaos will never find the right answer. So he made an unusual request. Han Wei asked Emperor Liang for permission to step away for 2 hours. He did not wish to escape responsibility. He did not leave the palace grounds. He simply needed distance from the noise. Though doubtful, the emperor finally agreed. Han Wei walked to a small garden at the far edge of the palace. Few people ever went there. Bamboo trees swayed gently in the wind. A quiet pond reflected the sky. Han Wei sat beneath a bamboo tree. There were no voices, no accusations, no pressure. He slowed his breathing. He allowed his thoughts to settle. In the stillness, the scattered pieces of information began to arrange themselves. The footprints, the unused corridors, the small details that once seemed meaningless. In silence, his mind became clear. At that moment, Han Wei reached an important realization. The thief wasn't careless. The thief was afraid. And people driven by fear often make mistakes when trying to protect themselves. From that insight, a simple yet clever plan emerged. No violence, no threats, no interrogation, only fear, used against itself. Han Wei opened his eyes slowly. He was certain that if this plan were carried out, the thief would not be caught by force, but would reveal himself. With renewed confidence, Han Wei returned to the palace and met Emperor Liang. He requested several items for his plan, and before long, everything was prepared. Once again, the servants and workers were gathered in the grand hall. Emperor Liang waited in silence. No one knew what Han Wei intended to do. But one thing was certain. Calmness had given birth to the answer, and the real test was about to begin. This time, the atmosphere inside the Great Hall was different. There was no shouting, no chaos, no accusations. The guards stood still. The servants kept silent. Tension filled the room, but it was controlled. Han Wei stepped forward, holding a simple bamboo flute in his hands. With a calm voice, he announced that the thief would be revealed that very day. Not through interrogation, not through punishment, but through a single, simple act. He explained that the flute would expose the guilty person. Whoever had stolen the jade ring, he said, would see their nose grow longer the moment they blew into the flute. And it would be impossible to hide. A ripple of unease spread across the hall. Some servants exchanged confused glances. Others smiled nervously. A few suddenly looked uncertain. Han Wei offered no further explanation. Instead, he instructed everyone to blow into the flute at the same time, so no one would feel directly accused. One by one, the flutes were distributed. The hall fell into complete silence. At Han Wei's signal, everyone raised the flute to their lips. Most blew without hesitation. Some did so calmly. A few even smiled, certain of their innocence. But one person did not truly blow. He merely pressed the flute to his mouth and pretended to participate. Fear gripped his heart. Fear that his nose would actually grow. Fear that his crime would be revealed. In his mind, he told himself, "No one will notice. Everyone is blowing together. If I don't blow, nothing will happen." Moments later, Han Wei asked everyone to stop and lower their flutes. Then he told them to reveal their faces. At that moment, the answer was unmistakable. Nearly everyone in the hall had noses darkened with black powder. Everyone, except one man. The air grew heavy. Han Wei then explained the truth behind his plan. There was no magical flute, no curse, no nose that could grow longer. Inside each flute, he had placed fine charcoal powder. Anyone who truly blew into it would have their nose stained black. And the only person whose nose remained clean was the one who was too afraid to blow, afraid of exposing himself, without shouting, without accusation. The thief had revealed himself. Slowly, the man stepped forward. He was the one who had stolen the imperial jade ring. A wave of amazement swept through the hall, not because of magic, but because of wisdom. Wisdom born from calmness. Emperor Liang delivered judgment according to the law. There was no unnecessary rage, no public humiliation, because justice, not revenge, was the true goal. Yet the most important lesson was not about punishment. It was about stillness. In panic, suspicion, and noise, no solution could be found. But when Han Wei stepped away, quieted his mind, and allowed clarity to return, the answer emerged. Simple and undeniable. This story reminds us, sometimes the reason a problem feels impossible is not because it truly is, but because our minds are overwhelmed. When you face a difficult problem, step away for a moment. Find a quiet place. Let your thoughts settle. In stillness, the mind becomes clear. And when the mind is clear, even the hardest problems begin to reveal their own solutions. Thank you for watching until the end. If this story brought you value, share your thoughts in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe for more great story. Until the next story, stay calm and keep your mind clear.